Okay, people. So now it's June 10th, 2022, at 2:16 in the morning. After all this stuff today, yesterday, with the court, I don't want to say it was online because they didn't even send us a link for the MS Team. I managed to download it on my computer. It came up on my camera, it came up, but they didn't send us a link. Apparently they didn't send out a link to somebody else too, because they were saying they didn't have a link. So Tisha said, "Don't take it personal, Mom." And I'm like, yeah, okay, Tisha. Convenient that they didn't send the link for that. But anyway, we ended up doing it through telephone. It was a circus in terms of if you want to consider that to be court. I mean, the only good thing about it in terms of doing it on a telephone or an MS Team, if that would have went through, would be the fact that we didn't have to load up 6 kids into a minibus to go to the courthouse to hang around in the halls for more than half a day. Okay, we got to hang around in the house, and the kids ran around and made a big mess, as kids do. That was the only convenient part of that whole process. Because otherwise, if it was done in a courthouse, we all would have went with the kids because, you know, we don't have babysitters, and we needed to be there together as a group, okay? And in terms of, I would have went with Andre and Amari. Tisha would have went with Kyrie and Alea May, and Ria would have went with her 2 children, to which one of them she just gave birth to like last week. Okay? So in other words, the baby's a newborn, right? So that was in my opinion the only good thing about doing it in the comfort of your home, to which honestly I don't consider it to be a legitimate court in terms of the seriousness of the matter, right? Because it's a serious matter, people, right? It's a matter that I've been dealing with for 7 years at least with Uncle John, okay? But, you know, I'm taking it back to when they cut me off of welfare in 2003 illegally under legislation that hadn't even come into effect yet, okay? And that eventually was rescinded because it was illegal legislation to begin with. It was unconstitutional. It went against human rights, okay? So we haven't even touched on that one yet, right? In terms of that ongoing gang stalking and the targeting of my family, because not only did they cut me off of welfare, but they cut off children, people, in the country of Canada, as they bring in mass amounts and numbers of immigrants and put them directly into subsidized programs that are basically welfare programs, okay? So, you know, anyway, now let's just stay focused here, because I don't want to drag this out, and I fell asleep after, and I'm awake right now, and I'm kind of antsy in terms of where do I start. Okay, don't drop the ball. Don't get discouraged. Don't you know, just stay focused. You've come this far. I figure I'm about 2/3 done when it comes to general paperwork when it's related to quote unquote evidence. So if I can get that far with it as it's accumulating because of the injury that happens to a new individual. We're not talking just about Uncle John anymore, people. We're talking about what happened to SHAMAY, and then we're going to be talking about what happened to Amari, and then we've got Andre, and right, like right, okay. So you know, it's just not simply Uncle John here. Although they're trying to throw out my lawsuit, I guess you could say, based on Uncle John as they sneak in SHAMAY and try and throw her out at the same time and ignore everything else. So this is what they sent me first. Now, I think I'm dealing with just one office, one ministry. Although, whenever I submit my papers to the court, I have to do it in doubles, right? Because I'm sending it to 2 different ministries, right? I'm sending one to the Attorney General's office, Ministry of Attorney General, and another one, right, in a separate envelope to the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General. However, I think this is only coming from one paralegal from the Attorney from the Attorney General's office. Okay, I haven't, even though the Public Safety and Solicitor General's office is listed down here, I haven't been dealing with that particular ministry as I am with the Attorney General through one paralegal. Okay? Yeah, it's just the Attorney General's office that I'm dealing with right now. It says right here, Counsel for the Defendant, Ministry of Attorney General. Okay? So even though the Public Safety Solicitor General is getting the information, they're not sending me anything. They're letting the Attorney General's office deal with it at this point. However, I'm still required to send to both ministries. So I have to photocopy, and I have to have 4 photocopies each and every time I do something. Now, speaking of that, okay, so what happened? Well, I'd like to think that we won a battle, but we didn't win a war. Okay, so I'll probably put that in my title. We won a battle, but we didn't win a war. Because this is a war, people. I have how many war rooms in my house? 3 of them. Okay, I have 3 war rooms that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 5 computers that I work on. Okay, it's just for this purpose. Okay, as I'm going blind. 3 war rooms, 5 computers. That's a war. And I've been doing it for at least 7 years, ever since they medically kidnapped Uncle John. However, if you want to take it there, we can say my bedroom is the 4th war room, which is the original war room, because that computer in my bedroom, I started fighting for Andre. Really hard for Andre, okay? Because I used to work on that computer, right, for Andre. So, we get on the phone. We had to go all morning. Everybody was here by 8:30 in the morning. But they had other cases that they had to go through. It was kind of interesting how they were talking about probate and wills and all this other crap. Right, you know, in light of Uncle John. So, you know, the day went by. Finally, 1 o'clock came. And they were running late with whatever they were doing. So then they went on lunch for an hour. And then they picked up at 2 o'clock. Okay, so now you have to remember, all these kids are running around since 8:30 this morning, okay? And actually there was 7 kids here because another one came. Rhea has 3 children and another one. So we had 7 children here today. After school. Came by Uber. Because I needed her here, right? Because, you know, this, right? and she understands just a little, she trusts more in the process, right? She believes in the process because she's done work for lawyers before and stuff. So she's not as intimidated about forms and that kind of stuff, right? She feels comfortable working with forms or receiving information and, and applying it where it needs to go, where I'm like, oh my God, what do? I don't know where to start. Just breathe and calm down and you'll get through it. Right? So, motherfucker, right? So she's a real balancing part in it, right? She helps to balance it out and smooth, I don't know, maybe smooth me over, right? So, anyway. So by 2 o'clock or so, after 2, it was going on like 2:30 by this time. Then it's my turn, right, to talk, I guess. And I don't know, in a nutshell, the judge tried to say, I don't know how this one happened. I don't even know if I can believe it, but the judge tried to say that, this time it was a woman, right? She tried to say that she didn't have my 170 pages of documents in paper. She said she didn't have it. How is that possible, people? I dropped that stuff off last Friday, right at the courthouse, the very courthouse that she's supposed to be sitting in, right? And she's saying she didn't have it. That's the first thing. Okay? 170 pages. And of course we know that she didn't have the PDF file because they wouldn't accept it. I mean, the flash drive. Because they wouldn't accept it in terms of, they wouldn't, like when you go to the registry, they wouldn't accept taking the flash drive because, it's a big building and there's issues of maybe losing flash drives, so they just wouldn't take it. However, the Attorney General's office and the Public Solicitor General's office there, they have it, right? So, okay, so in the end, ask me some question, I don't know, right? And I just reminded her that I had 170 pages of info that had been submitted to the court, right? Plus there was a PDF file that, and obviously I reminded her that I had a court date set for a trial for 10 days and that's what I wanted. She asked me what I wanted, right? Well, I want the trial. That's what I want. 10 days. You got 170 pages to start in terms of documents, right? And then she tried to say that, I don't know how she worded it per se, outside of, I didn't meet my deadline in order to, because, I know I'm jumping, I'm sorry. Okay. First I got this in the mail. You can see, right? And then that came on, whatever day it came on. And then they said I had court on Thursday, which was yesterday, the 9th, right? But then on the 7th, same office sent me this. Now, I guess they sent me this because they're trying to say that they didn't receive this within that 5-day period. And I explained to the judge that, first of all, I only had 5 days, right? I met my 5-day mark in terms of I managed to get to the courthouse on the 5th day. I submitted the documents. They refused the flash drive. And then I immediately went to the post office, that same day, and it got mailed. And it's not my fault that they're in Victoria. Whereas the judge said I had 8 days, which is not what it's written in here. In here it's saying I only had 5 days, but the judge said I had 8 days, to which it's my responsibility to make sure that my opposition gets that information within that time period. And I'm like, well, but they're in Victoria and I'm in Surrey. How is that possible? I can't get on my broom and fly across the water and drop off that information as if I was a freaking stork, you know, dropping a baby in the ministry's lap, right? Or my witch's brew from my broom. Like, how the hell am I supposed to get that information to them by Friday? I guess I should have submitted it within 2 days after they served me. Is that how it works? Which is highly unfair. Anyway, she cut me some slack because she knows that I represent myself and that I don't necessarily know how to keep up with things because, you know. But she threw in an 8-day period, to which, if you think about it, if it got in the mail on Friday, it was special delivery. At the latest, if it came in even on Tuesday, considering that it had to go across the water, right? It still would have came in on the 7th day versus on the 8th day. But whatever they're trying to do, they only gave me 5 days. But I have it postmarked that it was put in the mail for them on the 5th day. That's that same thing like with SHAMAY. You know, they're being cocky with me with SHAMAY in terms of when I filed it. I went on the 17th. They refused to take it because they wouldn't take money because they had a drop box. I couldn't drop money into the drop box because in those days when I filed SHAMAY's lawsuit, like when I filed the lawsuit in general, right? I went on the 17th. It's all documented. I went on the 17th. They had a drop box because of their whatever crap, right? They told me I couldn't put money into the drop box. I had to go get a money order or something. Or I had to do it some other... Okay, so I left. That was a Friday, right? And then I came back on the 19th because I went off immediately after I left the court. I went and I got a money order that was dated for the 17th, I'm pretty sure. But that's Friday, right? So now it's late in the afternoon, so it's not like I can go back to the courthouse. So then Tisha took me back to the courthouse, I'm pretty sure, or I took a bus or something, went back on the 19th of April of 2020, and I put that money order in with everything into the drop box. But they didn't post it until the 20th. So they're trying to say that it was filed on the 20th, when in fact I was there on the 17th, and they turned me away because their registry wasn't open and they were only using a drop box. And I didn't have a check or a money order in order to be able to put that into the drop box. They sent me away. And then I came back on the following Monday and put it into the drop box. But I have the proof that I paid for it on the 17th. Because if I would have shown up to the courthouse and the registry would have been opened, it would have been posted on the 17th. And the reason I say that is because they pulled the plug on SHAMAY on the 19th, even though they said on the 16th she was dead, and even though she was dead in the house on the 11th. Okay? It's mindfuckery. Alright, I don't want to drag this out because I'm tired and I've got shit I have to do. So basically what I have to do, I have until the 20th, I'm sorry, I have until the 30th of this month, June, to get into those PDF files on that flash drive, put them into paper form, I guess continue numbering, so we're at 170, so we're going to keep going higher and higher and higher. And what they are is their bank statements for Uncle John's account from 2015, before the bank illegally kicked out my card so that they could pretend that I didn't have enduring power of attorney, right? So they can carry on with whatever it was that they were doing in the back room, right? And the only way they could do that was to illegally kick out my card, to which I can prove with one teller. And then I guess they just hoped I'd go away, because they knew I couldn't get a lawyer. That's why they do it, because they know you can't get a lawyer, right? And other miscellaneous stuff like Uncle John's bankruptcy, you know, those medical reports after the fact, right? In terms of documenting his legs and blah, 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 right? And just a few other little things in there. So I have to photocopy those, print them out, photocopy. Well, I already got them printed out for the most part, right? I just have to number them, photocopy them into 4s, submit them at the court, okay? And then we have to find a way to submit those videos or audio files in the court without a flash drive. So Ria's working on that part to figure out how to do that, right? Well, I'm taking those PDF files and co-aligning them with the papers that I have here and stamping, and then I have to go back to the courthouse, file it, as well as, I guess, put that stuff into an envelope and mail it between the 2 different offices within the government. So it's going to cost more money, but whatever. I brought up the fact that they're trying to, you know, they're talking about SHAMAY in here. I'm not going to read anything about that right now, but we will, okay? I will read, okay, people? Because they're using Uncle John to throw out the whole court case as they're sneaking in SHAMAY, trying to blow it off like it's nothing. And I said, I noticed that, you know, there's reference in here to do with SHAMAY, but you know, if you're asking me to resubmit the information that's on the PDF file, and being that you're, you know, they're trying to throw this out on SHAMAY as well, even though they're saying it's Uncle John, it's like double speak. I said I'd like to submit some more documents in regards to my daughter. Oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, okay. So you're going to sit up there and you're going to talk about my, and that's what I said to the judge. So, okay, so we're going to sit up there in court, you know, for the next date, right? Because it got carried over, right? And we're going to talk about SHAMAY, but I'm not allowed to put in more documents? Okay. That's not right, people. That's not right. You can't sit up there and talk about my daughter, accuse me of this and accuse me of that and call me this and call me that, if you're not willing to accept evidence so that, right? But the judge said, no, not at this time. Not at this time. Right? Anyway. So it got carried over until July. The 3rd week of July. There's no fixed date. It's from July 23rd on, within that week, and it will be done with some judge in Coquitlam. And it will be a 4-hour gig. 2 hours for them and 2 hours for me. But I'm not allowed to add in any more documents other than what I've already submitted. Even though if they can't throw it out on Uncle John, they're going to pull out their tricks and try and throw it out on SHAMAY, as the judge denied me the right to add in information regarding SHAMAY. That's the way I see it, people. I did make a note of it, that it's unfair that you're talking about my daughter, but you're not allowing me to submit evidence around the issue. Okay? So I don't know what that means in the future, because if they can't throw it out on Uncle John, they're going to snag into SHAMAY and say, well, you know, it says this, and we're going to read it this week. In between what I'm doing, I'm going to find what it is that they're making reference in here, and we're going to fucking read it, okay? And I'm going to give you my opinion on it. And if they're going to deny me access to put documents in, like her medical files, the ones that I have, not the ones that are being denied to me. Okay, we haven't even touched on that subject yet. What about the ones that are being denied to me, people, from the medical clinic? As I lose my family doctor over this, telling me to go take him to court. As I'm going fucking blind here, waiting for a referral from some clinic that gave me shitty fucking glasses. Glasses I can't even use, but yet the government paid for them. It's been over a month and a half. Where's that referral, people? Do you hear my phone ringing? I don't. Don't tell me that I'm not still being flagged through my medical fucking files here with these individuals. Just saying. So, I don't know what they talk about when they say being prejudiced or whatever, right? Because I think the only thing that saved me, people, saved Uncle John and saved everybody else, was this. Okay, 170 pages and counting. Okay? Whether the judge had it or not, we'll never know the truth. Okay? This stuff sat in the courthouse for 4 days. It's simply take it from downstairs and take it upstairs and put it on the judge's desk. There's absolutely no way for the judge to not have this. But she said she didn't have it. Okay? And therefore, because she didn't want to jump to conclusions, basically. That's what she said. She put it forward for another day. Okay? In terms of sometime in July. Now, when I get the next batch ready to put into the registry, I was just thinking about this not even 2 minutes ago before I turn on the camera. Am I supposed to go to Coquitlam now and go to that courthouse and file those papers? Or can I still file them in the New Westminster Court? I don't know, people. If I file them in the New Westminster Court, as I've got the judge from the New Westminster Court now sending me to Coquitlam to deal with this issue so that we can have 4 hours instead of 1 hour, as they try and throw out SHAMAY through the back door without any evidence, without any investigations or inquiries or anything, not to mention what happened to Amari, and so on and so on. So we're not out of the woods. That's what I mean. We won a battle, but we didn't win the war. Okay? And it's been a long freaking war, people. But I have, how many days? 20 days just to tidy things up. I'm going to take it to the New Westminster Courthouse They're going to tell me, well, it's being sent to Coquitlam now. So you're going to have to go jump on a bus and go to Coquitlam and file it there. Or they will accept it and they will forward it to Coquitlam when that time comes. Right? So Uncle John is going from courthouse to courthouse to courthouse. First, it's the courthouse in Vancouver, the Supreme Court of Canada in Vancouver. Then it's the Supreme Court of Canada in Westminster. And now he's going to freaking Coquitlam. Okay? 3 freaking Supreme Courts. He's rocking these courthouses, people. All right? What else can I say? Right? He deserves justice. You know what I'm saying? So he's making sure everybody knows about it. Right? So in a nutshell, they didn't know what to think. They must have been surprised that I even had the stamina to submit 170 pages of paperwork, not to mention flash drive yet, with information on it. And because of that, it requires more time to go through the information. But basically, we're just dealing with Uncle John as they're trying to sneak in SHAMAY as a, something up their sleeve. I wouldn't call it an ace, because if they throw it out, I'm coming back. And let me tell you something. I've been thinking about it. And I remember a long time ago, I met this person who did something, filed some kind of lawsuit or something against the government. And they were doing shenanigans with him too. And then he ended up taking it to a different court, to a higher court, to hold the Supreme Court to account. And whatever he did, in the end, he won, because he had to take it out of the Supreme Court in order to get that court to hold the Supreme Court to account for being prejudiced, self-serving, whatever it is that, because as far as I'm concerned, what I've been up against at this point so far, except for maybe what happened yesterday, with the judge that said, I don't want to make an opinion until I get all the information, so therefore we're going to just push it forward, right, to another date for, at least a different judge to look at it, right, because there's only so much time they can book in these things, right? But prior to that, it's, as far as I'm concerned, these judges that I've been coming into contact have just been aiding and abetting with the corporation to protect the corporations with their criminal activity. Okay? So, there are other courts that you can go that supersede the Supreme Court and then holds the Supreme Court to account. If it comes to that, people, I will find a way to do that. Okay? But right now they're steering away from that. And they've got me now in Coquitlam through MS Team. The judge wants that one to be an MS Team in terms of something on a computer where you can look at each other, I suppose. Right? So we won the battle, but we haven't won the war. I have 20 days to tidy things up. Well, less than 20 days, because it's my responsibility to make sure that the government gets their info within 3 days. When they just spring something on you, right? I mean, how are you supposed to, right? But anyway, we're past that bridge. That's like, they can't expect you to get on a broom and fly across the water just so that you can deliver the paperwork in a timely manner when they themselves are being negligent, okay? When they themselves are being negligent. And they've been negligent. You see, that's the thing. Because those first 3 judges that I came into contact with, all 3 had the ability to call an investigation that supersedes anything that any cop could possibly do. Okay? And they refused to do it because they were aiding and abetting with the corporation to protect the dirty deeds that they are doing among the general public in terms of committing crimes, people. Committing crimes. Okay? This judge, the fourth judge, she didn't aid and abet. She just pushed it along and made it somebody else's problem. Right? That's what we figure when she says, oh, well, she didn't have those 170 pages. I'm like, well, how is that possible? You know, man, that's nothing. We figured that maybe she just said that because she just didn't want to deal with it. So she passed it along. Because if she had to look at it, it's black and white. There's no disputing it, people. Okay? You can't just throw out 35 years or however many years and act like it didn't exist. Right? Okay? They'd like to, but they can't. If they try to, they become aiding and abetting into that crime of what happened to him. Right? So anyway, that's it. So, it's too dark to read right now. My eyes are like really bad. But, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go through this. I don't care about the case law because I'm not there for other people's issues that happened years and years and years and years ago. I'm there for justice for Uncle John and the rest of my family. And, you know, stick with the subject at hand. Right? And, being that they did make reference in here to do with SHAMAY, but they're not allowing me to submit evidence, I will pull that up. I will read it to you. And we'll discuss it. Well, I'll discuss it. And then I'll get a better understanding of how they're trying to use her. Use her as a backup method to throw out the whole lawsuit. Okay? If they can't throw it out on Uncle John, then they're going to try and pull in on SHAMAY and throw it out on SHAMAY. Even though they've got her staring at them with her picture in there, in multiples yet. Okay? In terms of what they did to her. What they did to her. Not what I did to her, but what they did to her. And even then, we don't even know where her body went after the fact, people. We don't. We don't. Because whatever they did was all through a backroom operation. In terms of, one, it was coded, that's for sure. Superbug is a code word. And they didn't do no autopsy, that's for sure. Even though I asked for it, fought for it, I know they didn't do it. Their autopsy was their sample of blood that they took when she came in. They can't say that they took urine from her because she didn't have no urine inside of her, because she urinated when she was sitting up on the couch before Julian laid her down and staged her body. She urinated and she defecated sitting up. Have evidence of that. Anyway, stay focused. What I have to do isn't that hard. It's just going through the motions. Right? And I'm going to figure out. Listen, if they throw it out, people, I swear I'll file another one. Okay? And not only will I file another one, but I'll find a way to take it to a higher court. And I'll have the people that keep throwing it out investigated through that higher court in terms of their shenanigans. Because there is a higher court that you can take this to. I'm not sure exactly where it is or how to get there. But I know that you can do it. Because I wouldn't have been the first person to do it if I have to do it. Okay?